Welcome back to Baby Gang Magazine. If you want to learn about BTS, you should know about these 3 songs.
South Koreans are voting for their next president.
We start from the beginning. BTS's pre-debut story, as many know, involved quite a bit of experimentation and reinvention. As trainees in Bang Si-hyuk's company Big Hit Entertainment, now HYBE Corporation, the concept of BTS was based on presenting a combination of hip-hop and Korean idol music, or K-pop music, something groups like BAP and Big Bang had popularized to some extent before them. However, key differences were established in terms of BTS's messaging early on. Here's a quote from BTS's main producer P-Dog in 2013. Korean mainstream hip-hop is more about doing love stories through rap or having YG Entertainment's style of swagger. You really need to have a lot of money or something to boast about to do that. Our boys did not have that. Si-hyuk suggested that the members participate because hip-hop is about telling their own stories. We had many meetings with the members, from the theme of the lyrics down to everything. We would talk about the kind of music they wanted to do. The group's first member and leader, rapper RM, not only had a thirst for learning more about hip-hop, but he actively pushed other members of the group to listen to records he found important. As evidenced by BTS's later records like Hip Hop File, RM's influences ranged from the socially conscious lyricism of Black Star to the party-minded gangster rap of Snoop Dogg. Records like these set the table for BTS's early aesthetic and thematic approaches, allowing BTS to not only come up with their own themes that they wished to impart in their music, but to do so through the lens of hip-hop, empowered them to do social and political commentary that felt relevant for youth in Korea. As Myung-sun's song posits in her 2019 book Hanguk Hip-Hop, Global Rap in South Korea, quote, speaking on social themes is rare in K-pop where many songs concentrate on love. For BTS, they were able to show their authenticity by speaking about the realities that their peers were going through, end quote. No More Dream is the natural harmonization of BTS's interests in various hip-hop styles and their desire to speak for a generation. In an industry wherein debut tracks are crucial to a group's success and teasers for a career to come, the song directly rejects ideologies that have long driven K-pop and arguably Korean society, that of simply working hard and pursuing a dream being all one needs to navigate a clearly unjust world. Let's compare it to the legendary Girls' Generation's debut record, Into the New World, for better insight on how BTS's mentality felt so radical. As Girls' Generation, known as Sonya-shide or SNSD, was meant to represent a new era of female empowerment within neoliberal Korean society, their debut release works as a vow one makes to themselves to pursue their dreams fully within a brave new world. In the video, each member is pictured in different career and hobby settings, showcasing individuality and application of effort towards a goal. A foreboding love song, the lyrics, written by Kenzie, are sorrowed yet hopeful. There's a rough road in front of us. With unknowable future and obstacles, I won't change. I can't give up. This was the debut of a group in Girls' Generation that would become highly influential in Korean global and domestic politics through their popularity and coolness. They more than met beauty standards, talent standards, and affability standards. Through their apparent ease with which they handled these standards and other difficulties as idolized mega stars, they helped reaffirm a sense of acceptance of societal challenges as hurdles to overcome, rather than signifiers of a broken system that we should try to fix. In From Factory Girls to Idol Girls, Professor Gu-young Kim posits, on top of common ingredients of female success in patriarchal society like being obedient, SNSD music videos mandate women nowadays have to be resilient under an ever precarious and exploitative neoliberal service economy. As a capitalist biopolitics that produces neoliberal female subjects who are self-reliant, effective, and responsible for their own survival, SNSD music videos help update traditional patriarchal gender norms and expectations in the neoliberal culture industry. Just got through that. Of course, this type of advocating for resiliency and optimism can provide its own form of healing and strengthening for audiences, regardless of gender and politics. It's no wonder Into the New World has become a new age protest anthem for some. Of note, the glorification of working hard and making it through, and being the ideal person, especially given the troubles the country experienced with the global recession, was very much the message neoliberal South Korea needed to maintain. That was the power of SNSD. This is why 6 years after SNSD 's debut, BTS's debut record is so disruptive, where Into the New World is a highly traditional K-pop anthem full of hope and aptitude. No More Dream is an ode to rap music, with traditions and cultures miles away from Korean standards, and a message of relinquishing hope. It starts with RM and Suga telling you your dreams are silly, and Jungkook groaning at his mother for nagging about his studies. The line Jungkook says, "Okay mom, I told you I'm on the way to the
독서실
now," is included in the fan chant, so everyone screams it aloud. The opening bass line is a very clear shout, it seems, towards Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg's classic Deep Cover. The drum track, with its patterns and sound, resembles that of contemporary rap hits for the time, like Meek Mill's I'm a Boss and Big Sean's Ass. And the choral refrain of Nik Komi Moni Nik Komi Moni Mone is a clever reimagining of the old school hip hop chant, Make money money, make money money money. This is how BTS chose to kick off their career. Rather than gently reaffirming the common ideas of resiliency that keep neoliberal society's gears turning, the group chose to express themselves as cultured, disdainful youths who wonder boldly if hard work and study really are worth it after all. To be clear, this was unprecedented. While tracks like BAP's Warrior, released a year prior, carried similar rebellious energy and hip-hop influence, the lyrics are more pointed at general subjects of disdain and repression. BTS went as far as to call out the infamous Korean schooling system by its name and enumerate specific feelings of fear and loathing from young people in the country. That was risky, ballsy, and impressive, and it was not what K-pop was supposed to be. That was the beginning of Bangtan. Bangtan is bulletproof in Korean. That's the thing that they have in their name.
Giving testimony in a trial against the ferry's captain.
If you liked the socio-political, youth-minded rebellion of No More Dream, wait till you hear about Bepse, also known as Silver Spoon. In Bepse, a popular B-side from the acclaimed Hwayeon Younghwa series, the Tannies, that's another nickname for BTS, the Tannies examine class sentiments and neoliberal agendas in South Korea, which place blame upon young Koreans for their misfortunes. To understand Bepse, you must first be aware of two different concepts. The first is spoon class theory, a type of theoretical framework surrounding class struggle that gained popularity in South Korea in 2015. In a text from the Journal of Asian Studies called Spoon Theory and the Fall of a Populist Princess in Seoul, much is written of spoon theory and Park Geun-hye, who will become relevant again later in this essay. Hyejin Kim writes the following.
Wealth inequality has soared, as it has around the world, and younger Koreans are struggling to comprehend life without chances for advancement. These problems have been framed recently in terms of spoon theory, or
수저론
a term derived from the English idiom about being born with a silver spoon, and used to classify people according to their inherited privilege. This term, which is a local response to the global problem of rising wealth inequality, channels anger about inherited wealth and the failure of the political system to rectify it.
The second thing you must understand is what Bepse means, which would be crow-tit, a type of bird we know as a vinous-throated parrotbill.
There's an idiom, 뱁새가 황새 따라가다 가랑이가 찢어진다, meaning if a crow-tit, or parrotbill, tries to follow a stork, it'll split its legs. It teaches how you should tailor your ambitions to the measure of your abilities or the resources given to you. BTS often call themselves as 뱁새, or crow-tits, meaning underdogs, those who started with disadvantages, the powerless in the society, and so on. They nonetheless refuse to frame themselves within the limit of crow-tits. They rather challenge the norm and gladly split their legs. Though it's painful and takes a whole lot more efforts, they do succeed in walking along, or even past storks. 황새, or storks in this context, means those who are born with advantages. The contrast highlights the severe socioeconomic inequality in Korea. The English title of the song is Silver Spoon, which is synonymous with inherited wealth. So the Korean title, 뱁새 or crow-tit, and the English title, Silver Spoon, actually mean the opposite to each other. They might have decided to title it Silver Spoon in English to emphasize that this song is about socioeconomic inequality and injustice.
It is true that Bepse is an aggressive pop rap anthem. It's shouty and angsty and fun. But such descriptions, though commonplace in K-pop music writing, undersell the meaning behind musical choices. When V and Jimin sing no noryok, they do so with exasperated voices. How does the word noryok, meaning a striving, making an effort to accomplish something, fit here? How is it affected when the first syllable, no, is repeated? For one, it's a reference to young people's dismissiveness of the idea of noryok. The gag is you elongate the no in noryok to express just how hard you must try, according to your elders who are completely out of touch with how much effort you're putting into your life and how little it can matter when your luck is down.
여러분들의 노력이 좀 부족했던 건 아닐까요?
노력이 부족해요. 노력. 네. 요즘 애들은 노력이 부족해. 노력을 보여주죠. 노력을 하면 안 되는 게 없어.
And maybe it's also a bilingual bit of wordplay, and the no noryok is more than just a stutter. It's a statement. No noryok. That's just my theory.
At stake, two key issues: the Conservative government's attempts to reform labour laws and its drive to produce its own history textbook for use by all children in the country. But polls suggest a majority of South Koreans oppose the plan. Its leading critics say it's designed to enhance the image of Park's father, who led an authoritarian regime in the 1960s and 70s. The president, Park Geun-hye, says South Korea's left has all but monopolized history teaching in schools, failing to inspire national pride and unity.
Without the knowledge about his country's own history, then one becomes a soulless human. If one doesn't properly learn history, his soul can't become anything but abnormal.
Am I Wrong is perhaps the most overtly political BTS song to date. According to Minju Cha in her treatise Philosophizing About BTS,
Am I Wrong is a song that criticizes a warped society and a warning to those selfish people who take no interest in politics.
This is where the story of Park Geun-hye becomes relevant and where the class-based messaging of Pepse becomes even more politically charged. Park is the daughter of influential dictator President Park Chung-hee, whose economic policies helped build modern South Korea, but whose overall policies and conduct were highly authoritarian. Eventually, he was ousted and assassinated. Park Geun-hye's reign was similarly fated. She wasn't assassinated, but a fairly popular conservative populist at the beginning of her tenure, Park became aggressively rejected by the Korean people after a number of scandals. The first and most devastating was the Sewol ferry disaster of 2014, which claimed hundreds of lives, including 250 high school students. Not only did Geun-hye's government take little to no responsibility for the numerous failures leading to the disaster, the president's reaction was optically horrible, showing a lack of communication and a desire to downplay the incident. A report referred to it as just a ferry accident and showed no intention to investigate the case or support the victims, only intention to suppress protest. You may know that BTS released a song in 2017 called Spring Day, sporting a music video referring to this incident, and that BTS had privately supported families of disaster victims in 2014. This was despite being a group relatively low on resources at the time and risking retribution from the South Korean government intent on burying the tragedy. Infamously, Park Geun-hye's administration held a blacklist of nearly 10,000 names of artists who were critical of her government's handling of the situation or generally opposed her. This blacklist meant exclusion from state funding and cultural exchange programs. It devastated the Busan International Film Festival's resources as a result. Among other names on the list was future Oscar winner Bong Joon-ho, director of Parasite and coincidentally noted supporter of BTS.
제가 비록 지금 골든글러브에 와 있긴 하지만 BTS가 누리는 그 파워와 힘은 저의 한 3,000배는 넘는 거니까요. 그런 멋진 아티스트들이 많이 나올 수밖에 없는 나라인 것 같아요. 한국이 되게 감정적으로 격렬하고 다이나믹한 나라거든요.
The K-pop idol industry notoriously relies heavily on government support, thus making political rebellion all but disastrous for idols, who are almost always accommodating to national diplomatic interests. This is not to say K-pop is a major revenue generator for the nation, especially when compared to South Korea's export focus on technology. but presidents through the past 10 years have especially exalted K-pop as a new, potent form of soft power. From John Lee's K-pop, popular music, cultural amnesia, and economic innovation in South Korea. The conservative Lee Myung-bak regime, without desisting from its orgy of censorship, couldn't muster enough encomia when it came to K-pop. President Lee addressed the nation by radio after a trip to Turkey, gushing that K-pop was loved by young Turkish people, and citing such South Korean stars as the K-pop group JYJ as a major asset to the future of South Korean culture. This would explain why South Korea's budget for promoting the industry reached $300 million in 2013 alone. Thus, BTS writing Am I Wrong and releasing it in 2016, even performing it with cheeky choreography on television, national television, is a key moment in understanding just how unique their legacy will be in K-pop. Am I Wrong came out at a time wherein Park Geun-hye's administration was as hated as ever in Korea, thanks to the ongoing scandal that would eventually lead to her impeachment. Park's close confidant, 최순실, was treated as a close aide despite not being part of Park's cabinet. Choi's father was a cult leader who had become close to Park and her family after the death of Park's mother, First Lady Yok Young-soo, and his influence led Choi to not only become quite wealthy through this connection, but also led Choi and Park to have a close connection. Park would give all types of inappropriate access to Choi, scheduling, personnel, classified info on meetings with North Korea, as one does, and Choi would advise Park on almost all of her decisions. As protests raged on in South Korea, BTS released Am I Wrong as an apparent form of protest song. The world's going crazy. How about you? You think it is okay? I don't think it's quite right. One of the song's most enduring and specific lines comes from Suga, who refers to a specific comment made by one of Park's government officials which caused great controversy. We are all dogs and pigs. We get angry and become dogs. As written by the LA Times, Na Hyung-wook put his foot in his mouth while he was out for drinks, saying among other things that 99% of South Koreans have no ability to move up in the world and can be treated like animals, simply fed and kept alive. The remarks were initially reported over the weekend by the Kyunghyang Shinmun, a left-of-center daily newspaper. This, alongside the Chung Yura scandal, wherein Chung, daughter of Choi, was reported publicly by a classmate to be receiving special treatment, being graded highly despite never attending class or submitting assignments at a women's university, showcase how deeply the South Korean education system is in bed with government corruption. Chung's scandal seemed to be the catalyst for the Choi scandal that took down Park Geun-hye, according to Hyejin Kim.
Chung represented illicit advancement through privilege. She even flaunted her privilege. On Facebook she had written, "Blame your own parents if you don't have ability. Money is also capability." This is an odd statement in a capitalist society. The implication is that success need not come from hard work, dedication, talent, or being useful to others. Rather, inherited privilege is as justified as any individual merit for helping someone advance. The statement sounds more like aristocratic arrogance or sarcastic critique of the contemporary social organization. Even then, the birthright claim in this case is based not on any natural social order. Chung's mother had helped her by directing state officials to violate their duties and by using her links to Park to extract funds from conglomerates. This could scarcely be portrayed as an ideal of motherhood. Chung's bizarre logic, although, was not new. In the preceding year, similar claims about privilege had circulated in the media. In late 2015, the phrase gold spoon lit up the Korean language internet. The term was a local twist on the English idiom. Opinion makers first attached the term to an inexperienced actress whose famous father had presumably landed her a series of big roles. The entertainment field presented ample material for pondering the benefits of having influential parents. Those who had gained help from their parents defended their positions, claiming that it was more difficult to succeed when others knew their background. As the brother of the actress first labeled a gold spoon wrote, "We know we are gold spoons, but do we have to live quietly because we are gold spoons? Can't she, the sister, pursue her goals even though she was born as a gold spoon?"
With this, all three of these BTS tracks tackle issues in Korean society that are deeply interwoven with political corruption during a time where these issues converged to cause one of the most notorious, explosive political scandals in recent Asian history. Each record is clear in its political effects, but focuses on the individual and their socialization. How do we as humans react to a crumbling, ineffective system that will betray us at any given moment? The Park Geun-hye administration very literally left students out to die. This is true of their disregard for human lives during the Sewol ferry disaster, including 250 kids. It's true of Park's clear connection to school corruption, allowing her friends' children to enjoy tons of benefits without any effort, whilst millions of working class students struggled to make anything of themselves in an intense, rigged schooling system. It's no coincidence an education official of such high ranking could have such low regard for the citizens of South Korea. Thus, history allows us to see No More Dream as even more radical than it appeared upon debut. It explicitly called on students to shirk scholastic norms and to define their lives for themselves, rather than follow the messages Korean neoliberal society teaches you about staying in school. It asks you what your dream is. It doesn't tell you how to follow the dream you're supposed to have. It used school as a framework, which was not only relevant for their audience's age range, but for the sociopolitics behind neoliberal Korea, which imprints youth early on by forcing young people to compete in an unfair rat race and blames them for whatever trouble they may have. Behind this system and this messaging is bureaucratic incompetence and political corruption created by and in service of the rich and connected, also known as the gold spoons. Thus, Pepse feels like a natural continuation of the ideas of No More Dream, in tandem with conversations taking place in Korean society, rather than passively accept older generations and well-off figures in their advice to just work harder. BTS say no noryok. They place themselves as the much maligned crow-tit, rather than the approved stork. They identify with the underdogs given less to work with and demand listeners to change the rules because the storks only want to maintain. Both records address society's responses to systemic injustice, telling students to ask for better, telling those in power to do better. Rather than passively accept the rough road in front of us as a mere obstacle to overcome, as Kenzie's lyrics suggest in SNSD Into the New World, BTS's lyrics, written and inspired by the minds of the group's members, demand the road to be changed, refusing to accept. These messages are inherently political, and the release of Am I Wrong in 2016 confirms this. Like No More Dream and Pepse, Am I Wrong focuses on the average person's socialization, calling on the listener to be more politically minded and to demand better, as BTS have in their records. It makes specific reference to politicians' comments and to Hell Chosun, a term used to describe the perilous state of Korea in the 2010s. It tells the listener, if you see the news and don't feel anything, if you see that comment and don't feel anything, if that hatred doesn't make you feel anything, you're not normal, but abnormal. The news and the comments they are referring to are those of Park Geun-hye's administration and its numerous scandals, and they're referring to it risked their being blacklisted by those in power, which would be a death knell for any other K-pop group. In BTS's case, they only became stronger. They built valuable bonds with their fans because of their commentary and inspired onlookers around the world. Though K-pop is in great part the descendant of Seo and boys, it, like group member Yang Hyun-suk, has flown far from Taeji boys' sentiments of political rebellion. In this millennium, K-pop is not supposed to be politically rebellious. K-pop is not supposed to risk being blacklisted by the Korean president. K-pop is not supposed to criticize neoliberalism. BTS has done these things because BTS is not K-pop. BTS is BTS, an entire universe, and K-pop, its own universe, makes up just one of their many dimensions, not, as most people treat it, a lens through which to understand and judge BTS. Some reject this BTS pop categorization. They say, for one, that BTS are not the only artists in the industry to have made social commentary. This is true. It is a shame, particularly, that Chonghyun and Sulli have been labeled more for the manner in which they passed than for the advocacy for social causes they promoted in their time. However, it can hardly be said that either artist's careers, like just about every other idol's careers, were colored by an allowance of artistic sociopolitical expression from their management. And if you have to go to the 90s and name a few songs by H.O.T. and Setskis to argue this, or name a few songs by groups that have been directly inspired by BTS, you're perhaps proving the opposite point. Either way, the point is not that BTS are unique because nobody else has ever written their own songs or had powerful messages. That is a straw man. BTS are unique because of the many different unique approaches they have taken to art and business from the start of their career, combining to create an entirely different path. As a result, BTS have created their own industry and legacy. Describing K-pop by using BTS as an example is like describing Hollywood through David Lynch. You can technically do it, but you might be misleading people greatly on what Hollywood filmmakers actually do. And in before the artsy kids get upset, no, BTS's music is not comparable to David Lynch films. It's better. Some say separating BTS from K-pop is separating them from their cultural roots. The idol industry in Korea is not some sort of Korean heritage tradition. It has only existed from the late 90s, and specifically as a system of cultural production based in Japanese and Western industries and music stylings. No one in good faith would say BTS are not K-music. They are very obviously Korean because they sing in Korean about Korean issues, not because they're idols. They do things idols do not do constantly, both within and outside of their music. If they were a solo act like IU, they would have been considered a non-idol years ago, like IU. If they did not emerge from the idol industry as Epic High didn't, the same would be true. It is not offensive to consider them something different than what they were sold as in 2013. Practically every artist is given this consideration. K-pop artists, for some reason, are not. Do not take that out on BTS because their fans strive for better. To many, BTS are a global phenomenon, a product of cultural technology, a purveyor of soft power, an owner of parasocial relationships, a music industry enigma, a sign of the times. These are the labels we're accustomed to hearing about this Korean pop group. From scholars, journalists, YouTubers, co-workers, fans of other acts. They're accented with surprise. How is the common question word. How did BTS get there? Yet many of those same people won't research BTS's discography. How can you hope to understand an artist without studying their art? And how can you be passed off as an expert on this artist to be employed and centralized for your research on them? Consider the case of Joshua Min-soo Kim, a Pitchfork writer expressing disdain alongside White Stereo Gum writer Tom Brahan towards the BTS fans' buying campaigns, opining that beyond chart manipulation, the thing that kills me is
ARMY just don't care about the music anymore.
Kim praised previous tunes like 2013's Like and 2014's Miss Right, attributing their value to BTS's rapping being less corny, I guess, and the records also being less Western-minded. Of course, BTS's music, including the records he's named, has always been heavily influenced by Western music, particularly R&B, which is embedded in American pop DNA and sources from Black American musical traditions. So that comment at first comes off as bizarre. Further investigation into Kim's opinions sees a dissonance on numerous levels with the choices made both with the Korean music he exalts and the Korean music he derides. He states in 2020 that K-pop has worsened because while always having been influenced by Western music, it began to kowtow to Western success. And yet K-pop has always been an export-focused music industry, and English records like Nobody by the Wonder Girls, The Boys by Girls' Generation, and CL's Lifted were all notable examples of many heavily promoted releases by K-pop artists targeting Western markets. If Kim feels BTS's aggro rap of the present has bogged their style down, I'm curious what he thought of the first 3 BTS Cypher records, tracks like Dope and We Are Bulletproof Part 2, etc., which were released in the first 2 and 3 years of their career, during the time period he glorifies, in which their aggressive rap stylings were actually there and not now. Wouldn't you prefer new records like Disease over old records like Second Grade, Mr. Kim? And if Kim truly feels Korean rap predominantly doesn't ask for a seat at the table and wishes to sound unique, I'm happy to hear his thoughts on Debo's Horse, Lil Cherry's whole catalog, J Park's Rock Nation deal, J Park's DNA remix, and 90% of Show Me the Money, among other things. Of course, skeptics like Kim and others will cling to the idea that BTS have changed since the days of Am I Wrong, and that the ways in which they've changed have rendered them uninteresting and ineffective. Tastes will vary, but the substance behind these arguments is often highly debatable. For example, many will watch this video and say,
yes, those BTS songs were from before 2017, but they're different now. They don't do socio-political commentary anymore.
That would be wrong. Though BTS's subject matter varies more now, and though songs like Butter and Dynamite opt for a fun-loving, light-hearted party experience rather than make any form of political statement, a look through their discography just in the past year shows they're still willing to write about social issues. This can be seen in records like Strange, Respect, and more. It could even be seen in subtle criticism of hustle culture rapped by J-Hope in Disease. Additionally, moments like member Jin's speech decrying music chart manipulation, also known as sajegi, robbing smaller artists of their ability to succeed on the charts, showcase how BTS are also using their platform outside of the music to make important points, as always. But it seems to me that no matter what success BTS achieves or what fans say about their music, many will opt to draw their own conclusions, often only seeing parts of a certain picture and claiming them to be the whole. Still, there are many who are willing to open their minds. If people like Berleezy or Tiny Meat Gang can champion BTS even a little bit, it's a sign that slowly doors are being opened more and more for people to see what BTS themselves have done with their art throughout their career, instead of hearing it from somebody else. Why is this so important? Are these just the musings of a stan hellbent on making other people listen to his favorite artist? Yeah, partially. Forgive me for being enthusiastic. But aside from this, I would argue that recognizing BTS's artistry and their multi-dimensional impact could have a positive impact on the global music industry. We've already seen Rolling Stone take note of BTS's company, Hybe, offering shares of the company to artists and employees, something that Western artists, both at the indie and mainstream levels, could also take interest in. In America, we are not used to seeing pop artists make risky political statements. Though many artists will take stands on social issues and demonstrate progressive ideals, it's rare to see pop artists deliberately try to tell fans to question the government, reject schooling pressure, and speak out against the rich and the older generation's urging to never give up. As a matter of fact, though we fancy ourselves much more progressive in the US than folks in Korea, we still often succumb to the same neoliberal mantra to work hard and follow your dreams, without questioning whether those dreams are truly meaningful to us or merely forced on us by social pressure. Ultimately, BTS are not revolutionaries, just artists, but their actions throughout the years should be having something close to a revolutionary impact on how K-pop companies and companies involved in K-pop operate. A song like Am I Wrong should be hailed by K-pop reporters and scholars as a legacy moment, a highly significant moment in K-pop history. To my mind, it should be seen as a clear defining moment in BTS establishing themselves as being in their own category, showing the potential for K-pop groups to be unique and to inspire political action in their fans. Instead, even many BTS fans don't know about the story behind it. Why? K-pop journalists, YouTubers, scholars, and subsequently fans consuming all of their content focus heavily on the K-pop tropes. You will always hear phrases like synchronized choreography, a phrase as useful as cooked food or musical song, as well as any other number of tropes surrounding dark and light concepts, heavy beats, and attractive performers. BTS fit these criteria, sure, and that's all that matters to many K-pop fans. That an idol group may have qualities that allow them to have their own unique legacy aside from K-pop, let alone bigger than K-pop, is treated as an idea generated by naive fan enthusiasm. In that way, are these kinds of K-pop analyses helpful towards K-pop artists at all? Well, that's not BTS's problem. Anyway, rant over. Thanks for watching. I want to shout out other creators like Taffy, who did some voiceover work for this video, as well as Stephanie, Denai, my wonderful editor, Naya at BTS.7, Fazul at August Randall for doing important work you should check out. Thanks to Yuri for doing voiceover work. I hope I didn't come off too pretentious for you to find value in this video. I can't help myself. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/babygang that you can donate to support our production of video essays, commentary videos, music, and entertainment. It's a project headed by me, Elliot, with the help of friends like Denai, the video director, my manager, assistant, bestie Rowan, Allison, and more. And if you want to hang out with me and other cooler people, feel free to come to our nightly live streams here at youtube.com/babygang, which usually take place at 10 p.m. Eastern, especially on weekday nights. Okay, I'm turning the air conditioner on. Good night. Or good morning. I don't know.